In a world where change is the only constant, Choumil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Title Agents Podcast. I am your host, Choumil, and I'm very thrilled to kick off 2026 with an episode that's all about leadership, vision, and building winning teams, not just in business, but in life. Today's guest is someone I'm proud to call a friend and someone whose leadership journey has inspired people far beyond the basketball court. Coach Jim Larrañaga is one of the most respected names in college basketball, best known for leading not one, but two different programs to the NCAA Final Four. First with George Mason, the historic Cinderella run in 2006, and more recently with the University of Miami in 2023. His ability to build team culture, develop leaders, and consistently deliver results in high-pressure environments is something every business owner, team leader, sales rep, escrow officer can learn from. In today's conversation, we unpack his leadership philosophy, how he approaches goal setting, and what it really takes to create a culture that performs under pressure. Sure. Whether you're running a title agency, growing a business, in sales, in escrow, or just focused on becoming a better leader in 2026, this episode is packed with insights that will set the tone for your year and more years to come. Coach L, welcome to the show. I'm really thrilled to have you to kick off 2026. And you're an amazing human being, coach, leader. I can go on forever and ever. But I would let you kick off the show and give us a background, your history, your background for those people that may not know you.
Well, Mo, it's a pleasure to be on with one of my great friends of all time. You became a very close friend and confidant when I was at George Mason. But to your listening audience, I grew up in New York City in the Bronx. And I went to Archbishop Malloy High School in Queens. And in my freshman year, I was on a basketball scholarship. And in my freshman year, we had a terrific team. We were 7-0. And after Christmas, my high school coach called me in and he called me Larry, for short for Larrañaga. And he said, "Larry, your coach quit, so I want you to coach the freshman team." And I said to him, "Coach Kern, I'm only 14 years old." And he said, "Yeah, but you'll do a great job." So I did. I coached the team. We went undefeated. We won the New York City championship for freshmen. And that was it. I wanted to be a coach from then on. I graduated from Archbishop Malloy, got a scholarship to Providence College, played 4 years of college basketball, got drafted by the Detroit Pistons. That didn't work out, and I started my coaching career at 21 years old at Davidson College, where Steph Curry made his fame at the college level. And then I became an assistant at Virginia and eventually the head basketball coach at 3 different Division I schools: Bowling Green State University in Ohio, George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, where you and I became acquainted. And then in 2011, after our George Mason team set the school record for wins, I left to become the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes in Miami, Florida. And I've just retired after 41 years of coaching in December of 2024. So I've been out now a year, and I've been doing some fundraising. I teach a class at the university, and I have a radio show. So I'm still staying very active.
What's the name of the radio show for those that want to listen to it?
Well, it's a half-hour segment, the Hockman Crowder Solana Show. It's WQAM 104.3 on the FM dial. It's 3:30 every Wednesday, and they carved out a half hour for me for the Coach L show. And anybody that wants to listen, tune in. All they'll do is laugh. They ask me questions about basketball, of course, but we talk about so much more, and we have a really good time.
That's awesome. So 2026 is here, and a lot of our listeners are thinking about how to lead better this year. How do you personally approach the start of a new season or a new year?
Well, first of all, leadership is such an important part of any organization, and the leader has to create a vision, a crystal clear picture of what he or she wants the team to accomplish. And then the leader must have the ability, Mo, to inspire, to motivate, and then empower the members of the team to reach far beyond what they think they're capable of doing. And then the members of the team, they got to work together. They've got to know their role and execute their role. But not only that, they got to know their teammates' roles and how to help them. So you have great synergy. You have people who are really working hard and working well as a unit. That's what I did my whole life in coaching basketball. You have a bunch of individuals, and you got to bring them together to form a great team. And fortunately for me, I was able to do that at 3 different schools. Mo, I don't know if you know this or any of your listeners know this. I'm the only head coach in Division I history to win more than 100 conference games at 3 different Division I schools. So I'm very, very proud of that. So my leadership carried from Bowling Green to George Mason to Miami. And my vision was always about teamwork and leadership, bringing people together. And I would tell my players, a leader's first job is to create more leaders, not followers, leaders, guys who know how to take charge and be involved and set the right example.
And you are a master of creating that teamwork and also building a community. I remember what you did here in Northern Virginia, building a community around George Mason was irrelevant. Then it became very relevant. And that's all thanks to you and how you build that community. It's kind of rallied around the team.
Well, a lot of it was also my staff. I had great people around me. That's why it's so important to have great teamwork. And then my coaches, all of them have been very successful in this profession. They recruited the right players. And then we brought on a large staff. We had managers and grad assistants. And so my view of college athletics was to always be inclusive. So, Mo, you were part of the insiders at George Mason. We had so many guys and eventually women who supported our program. And the reason they did is they felt a part of the team. And that was always, I wanted to create a family atmosphere, not just for my team, the players. They'd come to my house. My wife would cook for them. They cared about her. They would ask her for advice and guidance and about finances, about dealing with girlfriends and all kinds of issues. So we were very much a family-oriented program.
What's something you do early on to set the tone for your team?
Well, the first thing is I sit down with my coaches and the team on the very first day, and we have a list of guidelines. And I then also share with them the vision that I have. And the vision is created simply by 3 words: attitude, commitment, and class. We would tell our players, anybody associated with our program, coaches, players, anybody in the community, you always want to have a positive attitude towards everything. We tell them life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Second, to make a total and unconditional commitment to being the best that you can be. Develop a great work ethic. Develop a great, to become a great teammate. You want your players, the greatest compliment your fellow players or team can have, fellow employees, is, oh, I love working with him. He's a great teammate. And then third, class is always behave in a first-class manner. Be a great role model in your community and on your team. Set the example. And then we would go through the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. That was always something that was foremost in my teaching. I've always seen myself as an educator. and I try to teach my players the 7 habits that I learned from Dr. Covey. And that was always on day one. The attitude, commitment in class, and the 7 habits of highly effective people.
What's something you learned early on in your career that still shapes how you lead today?
Well, very early in my head coaching career, I tried to do everything myself. I had the experience, the knowledge, the know-how, and I had a very small budget to hire a staff. So one of my assistant coaches, I hired him at $13,000. So he had no experience. He just got out of college. I was trying to educate him and teach him how to be a coach. But what I found as a leader, the most important skill you can develop is how to delegate, how to give them responsibilities so they can grow. Because as I said, your first job as a leader to develop more leaders. All my coaches wanted to be head coaches. So I had to teach them how to be a head coach, and then they had to work with the players to help them become better players and a better team. And now I follow all my former coaches. I have Chris Caputo at George Washington, Eric Conkle at Tulsa, Adam Fisher, Bill Courtney, and Michael Uger are all at Temple. Scott Cherry, he's at Central Michigan. So I've got guys all over the country who are pursuing their coaching career.
And Tony Skinn at George Mason.
And I was going to get to him, Mo. And then my most proud protege is Tony Skinn, who was a player for me at George Mason University. And he got hired by Eric Conkle at Louisiana Tech. So that was one of my former assistants hiring one of my former players. He developed Tony into a terrific coach. Tony then went to Seton Hall, Ohio State, Maryland, and is now back at his alma mater at George Mason University and leading them. I believe they're 11-1 or 12-1.
11-1.
11-1 going into conference play. And he won the A10 championship last year. He tied with VCU. And they went to the NIT. That was the first postseason since I left in 2011. So that's a great accomplishment. But even more impressive was he won 27 games, tying the record for wins in a season. So he's got that program really headed in the right direction. I'm so happy for him and his family and his players.
How do you approach the challenge of holding people accountable while also keeping them motivated?
Well, I think the biggest thing is communication. For me, I wanted to meet with each of my players at least once a week in my office, one-on-one. No one was at the meeting, just the two of us. And I like to get to know them. I have a slogan called Learn the Learner. So if you get to know the player, if you get to know your employee, and you sit down with them once a week and you find out what makes them tick, what's important to them, and then you can direct them correctly. And that'll always make them accountable. If they've said to you, and I'll give you an example, I had a player named Kenny Kaji who was 6'11", 270 pounds. And when I first met with him, he told me, I asked him, what position are you? And I think he's going to say, I'm a 5-man, I'm a big guy. He said, I'm a stretch 4. I said, a stretch 4, do you even know what a stretch 4 does? And he says, yeah, shoots threes. I said, well, at your previous school, you played 2 years. How many threes did you make? He said, none. I said, how can you be a stretch 4 and not shoot any threes? He said, the coach wouldn't let me shoot them. Please, Coach L, will you let me shoot them? And I said to him, I have only one rule. Shoot the shots you can make. Can you make threes? And he said, yes, absolutely. Mo, he made 75 threes that season.
So at Miami, right?
At Miami.
Yeah, I remember.
He was in my first group at Miami. He made 75 threes. And what made him accountable is he knew I understood him of what he wanted. Now, if he couldn't shoot the three, I certainly wouldn't let him shoot it. But he was such a good three-point shooter, just leaving him inside because he was big and strong and athletic. Yeah, that would be good for the team, but it wouldn't be able for him to expand his game because he wanted to play in the NBA. My point being is communication is the whole key. Whether you're an employer, you need to meet with your employees, get to know them, what's important to them. I really picked up on this when I read a book by Matthew Kelly called The Dream Manager. And that's what I recommend everybody in business to read, because it really explains how important communication is as to what's important to your employees, or in my case, what's important to my players and coaches.
What are the key ingredients for building a team culture that wins consistently? Like you had.
Yeah. The hardest thing is, and everybody uses the word culture. The way I view culture is people. Surround yourself with people who fit your vision. There are a lot of really good players that wouldn't fit my program. In fact, we had a terrific player visit us a couple of years ago. And in our discussions, I asked about his personality, and his dad said, "My son is crazy." I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" He screams and yells at teammates. He yells at refs. He'll yell back at the coach. And I said to him, "Well, your son's a great player, but I don't think he's going to fit in here." And so he went someplace else. He's now in the NBA, but he would not have enjoyed that success playing for me, because I'm all about behavior. I'm not going to allow any one player, any coach to swear at teammates, to swear at coaches, to be vulgar, just because that's my approach. Some other coaches are fine with that, and that's where he should go, and that's what he did. He picked the perfect coach, had great success in college, and now he's playing in the NBA.
That's awesome.
So culture is about finding the right fit of okay, I'm going to hire coaches who not are yes men, but are coaches that think the way I do about how to build a program, how to build an offense, how to build your defense, how to be inclusive and bring people into practices. And we would have the band come in. You know, Doc Nixon, the Green Machine at George Mason, we became best friends. We started raising money together, to help the band travel. They went to Orlando. They went to San Juan, Puerto Rico to back the team as we played. So culture is about surrounding yourself with like-thinking people, and then encourage each other, motivate each other, inspire each other to be better than what you are. So I always say I want to hire coaches who are smarter than me, smarter in technology, maybe smarter in research and what have you. That's my idea of what culture is.
How do you connect daily habits and routines to the bigger vision for the season?
Okay, Mo. So everything's about habits. First, you build your habits, and then that's who you become. Yeah. And I'm a great believer in routines. So what players need to understand right away when they come and play for me, whether it's Miami or George Mason, that the first thing we started doing is the meetings. Okay, we had meetings. I met with the players. Let's say I met with the players Monday through Friday, three or four players every day. And the routine was after lunch. So someone came in at 1, someone came in at 1:32. And then for practice, we always met in the video room. We watched a video, only 10 minutes. It was a teaching point. Then on the court, we met on the court. And we always met at the circle. And I always explained to them the significance of the circle is there are 3 levels of growth, Mo. The first level is dependent. When you're a child, you depend on your parents. The second level is independent. You become a teenager, you get a driver's license. You think you don't have to pay attention to anybody. It's on you. But when you become an adult and you're in the workforce at any level, you have to become interdependent. And interdependent is everybody has a job, and we have to do our own job very well, and we work together. So the significance of the circle that we meet as a team, that routine before every practice was we're all in this together. There's no top, there's no bottom. We're all equal. If you're the star of the team or you're a walk-on at the end of the bench, you all have a job to do. And the better you do that job, the better our team will be. The better a teammate you are, the better our team will be. And so when you're developing routines, they become the habits that you build on. That's why in basketball we do a lot of drills to learn the habits we want to do on the court. And one of my great friends, Mo, you're a golfer, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So one of my great friends is Dr. Bob Rotella.
Yep.
You know who he is. If your listeners know, Dr. Bob Rotella is
Of course, Joe.
the foremost sports psychologist in the country, working with all the major golfers and all athletes. And he taught me 3 words that I used all the time: train, then trust. So my job was to train, to develop the habits and practice. And then once the game came, to trust that the players had learned the lessons. And then I'd be on the sideline, and you know this, Mo, I'm not screaming and yelling, and I'm clapping, I'm cheering, I'm evaluating, I'm talking to the players, trying to inspire them and cheer them on.
So when you're setting goals with your team, where do you start, with the outcome or with the process?
Everything is about the process. There's a book I would encourage any coach to read, but even someone like yourself, Mo, you run your own, by Bill Walsh, San Francisco 49ers Hall of Famer. He wrote a book called The Score Takes Care of Itself. And in that book, he explained all your preparation is what leads to success. So they'd win these games where they had to come from behind. And he said, well, we practice these 2-minute drills every day. So it became second nature to their players. So a guy like who was it, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, connecting at the end of games when they're down 6 or 7 or what have you, and they need a touchdown, and there's only a minute and a half to play. These guys knew exactly what they were going to do. So the idea of developing that mindset of preparation, they use that it's not just the preparation for tomorrow is to do a great job today. And it's not the will to win, it's the will to prepare to win that's most significant.
So as you know, this is the beginning of the year 2026, and people start talking about yearly goals, or then I lose 20 pounds, and the focus in 20 pounds was the focus on process, like how many cardio sessions, how many training sessions, what calories going to eat, and to breaking it down to like daily, weekly, to get to that level, instead of looking at the number 20, 30, whatever pounds it is, and just you're not chunking it down and building those habits or processes that will get you there.
The whole key with goal setting and achieving is about the planning and writing everything down. It's easy to say something, but I'll use an example. My wife is been on a mission to lose 10 pounds. So I told her, this is what you have to do. You have to write it down. You got to look at that goal every single day. And then you've got to weigh yourself. You don't like weighing yourself, but you get on the scale every single day and see how you're doing, because the goal has to be measurable. You have to see how you're doing. With my team, what I would do is I would ask them the question, what are our goals for this coming season? And they might say, win at George Mason would be win the CAA, at Miami, win the ACC. So I'd say, okay, how do you do that? And then the goals would become, how many points do we need to average? What should our field goal percentage be? How about turnover rate or rebounding? And we would go to a website called KenPom, and I would bring up the teams that made the NCAA tournament, that won their conference, and compare them to our team and say, okay, if we're going to make the NCAA tournament, if we're going to win our league, we have to be in the top 50 in offensive efficiency. We have to be in the top 50 in defensive efficiency. We've got to be in the top 3 or 4 in rebounding in our own league. And we have to be in the top 2 or 3 in the fewest number of turnovers and the fewest number of fouls committed. So that was a clear picture. And then we measured after every game. And in our meetings after the game, we would say, okay, here are our goals. Here's how we did in this game. And we'd point out the things we needed to improve in. just like I would tell my wife, get on the scale and see how you did, and then go back and visit what you did the day before, the food intake you had, the number of calories you ate, and figure out which things maybe you should eliminate from your diet that are causing you to gain weight, and focus on the things you ate that allowed you to lose weight. You've got to learn how to achieve your goal.
What's your advice for leaders who need to realign, rebuild their team culture?
Yeah, I think one of the things, if you struggle and things aren't going well, you got to first look in the mirror. You have to look at yourself and say, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What are my coaches doing right? What are my coaches doing wrong? And I'll give you an example. When I first started, I was struggling as a head coach, and a friend of mine recommended I take the Franklin Daily Planner seminar. And I did that. It completely changed my organizational skills and was terrific. I then read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I was learning. The thing, anyone that's living and breathing, you need to keep learning. Oh, how to be a better parent, how to be a better husband and father, how to be a better employer, how to be a better employee. And I try to do that throughout my career. So it becomes a matter of, working at it, improving constantly.
As Stephen Covey would say, sharpening the saw.
Yes, sharpen your saw.
Yeah, it's part of the
habit number 7, Mo. You got
it. I'm an avid reader, as you know. So every team and every business faces adversity. How do you help your players push through tough moments or tough times?
It is amazing the teams I've had that have had to overcome some major obstacles. But the whole key is the foundation that you have. So in 2005, we had Bob Rotella come in to talk with the team, and he asked them how good they thought they can be, and the players said, we think we can get to the Final Four. So that's a very lofty goal for a mid-major program because it hadn't been done in 30 years. So then the season starts, and we lose at home to Creighton by 22 points. And I know everybody was thinking to himself, oh, no, this is going to be a disastrous year. We're 1-2 to start the season. We had such high hopes. But the great thing about losing that day is it set the stage for all our future success. The next day, we sat in the locker room as a team, and we went over the video over and over again. And I'd show a play, and then I'd ask an individual what happened on that play. And that player would see himself and say, I didn't run back on defense. That's why they scored. And then the next guy showed another play and said, I took a really contested shot. It was a bad shot. I shouldn't have shot that. We did that, Mo, for 3 hours, breaking down everything. And then I'll ask one question. Is that who we're going to be this season? Or can we correct it and be the kind of team we expected to be? And all the players then made a total and unconditional commitment to be the kind of team we wanted to be. And we went through the season. We won the regular season championship. We were ranked in the top 25 for the first time in school history. But then we faced more adversity. We lost to Hofstra in the CAA tournament, and everybody expected we weren't going to get invited to the NCAA. And I told the team, no, we have earned our way into the NCAA. We will get invited. I kept things positive. I kept practicing, knowing that, hey, we're going to be in the NCAA. We're going to be in March Madness. We're going to be in that big dance for the first time in a couple of years. And when we got invited, then all the adversity we had faced had put a chip on our shoulder. So when the experts said we didn't belong, we didn't believe them. We believed in us. You have to have faith You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your teammates. You have to believe in your coaches. And in the business world, it's the same thing. The owner, the president of the company, has to believe in his employees, and the employees have to believe in each other. That's the only way it works. And then we went on a run. We beat Michigan State, Carolina, Wichita State, and the number 1 seed Connecticut, and made it to the Final Four for the first time in school history, and the first time that a mid-major had been there in almost 30 years. And it was like breaking the 4-minute mile, like Roger Bannister did, because, nobody had done it in a long time, Mo.
So how do you personally stay grounded and focused when the pressure's on?
Well, that goes back to my meetings with Dr. Rotella. He's always told me, if you've done your job in practice, then you can understand that during the game, if you want your team to remain poised, you have to remain poised. If you want them to be cool and calm and collected, you need to be cool, calm, and collected. The coaches that scream and yell and go into the negative, they often panic, miss free throws, and have turnovers at critical times at the end of games. You want your team to be at their best when their best is required.
You've mentored so many young athletes. What do you hope they carry forward from their time with you?
Well, as I said earlier in the show, I'm an educator. I tell my players all the time, if all I ever did was teach you how to dribble, pass, and shoot, I wouldn't feel like my life was very worthwhile. My job is to prepare you when you're no longer in college and no longer playing basketball. And I can't tell you the number of players, past players, that stay in touch with me via text all the time, asking me for advice and asking me. I just got off the phone with one just prior to our podcast, asking me. He's a very bright young man, but he's just starting out his professional career, and he's asked me some questions as to the best way to interview, the best way to put together a resume, and how to get a good job. And I've done that throughout my life, including my own sons. My son Jay is an assistant coach in the NBA. My own son John is an entrepreneur in Washington, D.C., and both of them played for me in college. So they understood about developing the right habits and making a total commitment to being the best that they can be.
How do you think about legacy now compared to earlier in your career?
People, not me, not my wife, others talk about legacy. I really talk about teaching. I look at it as, okay, if you're a teacher, let's say you're a math teacher, did you help your students learn math? Did they know addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division? Did they know trigonometry? Did they know calculus? Did they know geometry? Because if you gave them that foundation of math, that'll last them a lifetime. If you're an English teacher, did you teach them the English language? Can they read? Can they write? Can they articulate? Do they communicate well? In my job was to help prepare them for that same thing. Basketball was the tool, was my subject, but my goal was to prepare them for life. And so if others want to think of my legacy is that I did prepare kids to be successful. John Vaughn,
of course,
right? Yeah. One of the terrific players, scored over 1,200 points at George Mason. What is my relationship with him? Well, I'm so proud of him because he's been a hugely successful businessman. What about Tony Skint? Well, he's a hugely successful college basketball player. What about my two sons? They're hugely successful adults. But I could go down the list of hundreds of kids that I've coached throughout the years, and the story is all the same. They learn from me the habits that you can be successful long after your playing days if you apply the 7 habits and you develop the philosophy of having a positive attitude, make a total commitment to being the best that you can be, and always carry yourself in a first-class manner.
That's awesome. We're getting very close to the end of the show, and I always ask this question. What is a favorite quote?
Well, I have so many. Let me give it, because I have so many different mentors. I'll give you one that it's very different than you might think. My high school coach, when he found out I was going into coaching, he said to me, Larry, that's what he called me, understand this. A coach's job is to serve. Serve your coaches and your players. Help them become the best that they can be. Help them to realize their dreams, because that's what a coach's job is. It's not about you. It's about them. So it's not an exact coach. I mean, an exact quote, but it basically means serve your players.
What's your own quote? It's an original one.
Is that Zach?
One. Yeah, it is Zach.
Hey, Zach, I like your Miami gear, man. That smile on your face.
Thank you.
So this is my son, Zach Choumil, and he's gonna have a bonus session here with
A question?
And basketball. Zach, you have any questions you have for Coach?
Is 2006 the best season you've ever had with any team that you've coached, or the 2023 season too?
Okay, both in 2006 and 2023, both teams made the Final Four. Here's what I would say about what I loved both those teams. I loved both what they accomplished because they got the goal that they had set for themselves to get to the Final Four. But in 2006, we were such an underdog. We were the 11th seed, and it had been so long since an 11th seed had ever made the Final Four. In fact, I was at that Final Four in 1981. So from 1981 to 2006, no team had made the Final Four from a mid-major league or from an 11th seed. The 2023 team, they were the shortest team to ever make the Final Four since 1965. The tallest starter was 6'5.5", but they were a 5th seed. So not quite all the upsets that we had in 06, but both teams, I loved them. I loved coaching them. I loved working with those guys, and I loved the coaches that helped us to accomplish that goal.
So this year you've seen at least one game of our GMU team. How do you think we'll make like the Final Four or like anywhere in the or anywhere in the tournament?
Well, I think this George Mason team is built to win. They're already 11-1, but they go into league play where teams are very familiar with you. And so it's far more challenging. I have my fingers crossed. If they win the regular season championship, I don't even know if that'll be enough to get them an invite to the NCAA, because there are new metrics. That's how the committee selects the team. So I'm hoping they have a great regular season, but even a better Atlantic 10 tournament, and they're the team that cuts down the nets. Because once they cut down the nets and they have that kind of confidence, they'll be a hard out in the NCAA tournament because they play great defense, and that's what wins championships.
The only thing is about that team is like slow starter, a strong second half, which is like the only
better than being a fast starter and a slow second half.
that makes total sense.
But that was only like that. Like we played really good against VT, except that was the only issue.
Yeah.
Well, Coach Al, thank you so much for your generous time, and you are one of my favorite people on the planet, and one of my favorite people, and my son as well. He wants to go to Miami because of you. Like, it was very
Zach,
exciting.
come on down and visit us, Mo. You and Jen, your lovely wife, and I love you guys, and stay in touch.
Wow, what an incredible way to start the year. A huge thanks to Coach Larrañaga for sharing not only his leadership insights, but also the real-life mindset behind building teams that succeed year after year. If this episode fired you up for 2026, make sure you subscribe, share with your team, and leave us a review, a 5-star review. It helps more top professionals and entrepreneurs find the show and grow with us. And thank you, Zach, again.
You're welcome.
In a world where change is the only constant, Choumil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey